Hello, everyone, and welcome to Washington to Westminster, your one-stop shop for transatlantic commiseration. I am your host, Andrea Bridget Smith, here from the wonderful Phoenix News Network, and with me, as always, from across the pond, over at the Interesting Times, it is Matt Johnston. Matt, it's been a minute. This is our season 5 premiere. How have you been?
Yeah, not bad. By the way, I don't want to put people off by the fact that they can see these on me. My hearing, not my hearing aids. No, I've had to take my hearing aids out to put these in, but these are actually my earphones. The reason being that because I do wear hearing aids, I am a little bit deaf. Comes with age. That I'm having to put these in order to hear people. There we go. That's the reason for it. But I've
That's
been
right.
doing well. Thank you very much. Yes.
Good, good. And I want to start by talking about things over in the UK. The weather may be cold and rainy, but things are heating up at 10 Downing Street because it looks like Keir Starmer may or may not be going. What's the latest with that?
I Googled it just before we came on air, actually. So bearing in mind, it could change sort of any minute. No, here's the
Right.
thing. I don't think so. I sent you a message the other night to say about, I think he'll be gone by the end of the week if Morgan McSweeney, his chief of staff, goes. And Morgan McSweeney did go. He kind of fell on his sword, as it were. He resigned. For those that don't know, by the way, this whole thing stems from the fact that a chap called Peter Mandelson was made the UK's ambassador to the US by Keir Starmer. And what's maybe kind of, I think, taken us all by surprise is this collective amnesia that the press, the politicians, everybody seems to have, because we all knew about Mandelson and Epstein. That's what it's come down to. In fact, they had this sort of, he knew him pretty well. He was sort of good friends with him, that sort of thing. He comes up lots of times in the Epstein files. And then they said, oh, we didn't know that after Epstein got convicted, he still had a continuous relationship with him. I'm sitting there going, yeah, you did. And in fact, it's one of those things where everybody was like, actually, maybe this could be the connecting point with Trump. They could both talk about the Epstein files, as it were. And now everybody's like, oh, this is shocking. He was friends with Epstein. But you knew this at the time that you appointed him. So
Right.
anyway, and yes, as a result of that, Mandelson has now resigned his seat in the House of Lords. He was a Lord. He's left the Labour Party, because obviously he was a member of that. Morgan McSweeney's gone. Starmer's still there, but just this morning or yesterday, the news came out, and I think, again, the press keep hold of stories like this so they can let's run this one now because it's quite apt. A chap called Matthew Doyle, Baron Doyle, was again a peer in the Labour Party, but he was before then Keir Starmer's director of communications. There's all these sort of mad Quango type, not Quango, but these weird and wonderful jobs. Obviously, that keeps Keir Starmer in the loop, as it were. But yeah, he's director of communications. But it came to light that in 2024, he campaigned for a chap called Sean Morton, who was a Labour councillor in Scotland, after he was found to have indecent images of children. And you're sitting there going, yeah. And Keir Starmer said, say with the Mandelson saying, oh, well, he lied to me, sort of thing. It doesn't look good. But there's one thing I don't think Starmer's going to go. He's made it very clear he doesn't want to go. He's come out, and everybody in his cabinet has said, they don't want him to go. And a lot of the party are saying the same sort of thing because, well, for a couple of reasons. The big one is nobody really wants to take over things as they are now. The Labour Party look to be taking a bit of a tanking in the May council elections. So, a bit of a poison chalice, get out of the way, then fresh start, But the other thing is, as you see, and we'll come to that in a minute about if any presidents have stepped down midway. But as far as prime ministers go, we've just had so many prime ministers coming up, stepping down, Boris Johnson to Liz Truss, boom, to Rishi Sunak. That was a quick change, wasn't it? I think people have had enough. They've had enough of the drama. No drama, Starmer. I think people are actually, when you look round, there's certain people out there that are calling for a general election. There will always be that. There are people that the day after the general election, they wanted a recount. You know what I mean? It's going to be this
Right.
way up to the next general election. But for the majority of people, I think that I generally think they're sitting there thinking, just get on with it. For God's sake, we're not going to have another election. We had one, in 2024. Just get on with it. We can't keep changing leaders. So there we go. That's where I think we are. I don't think Starmer's going to resign, irrespective of, and they might win the May elections. If they do, he's a confident prediction here, but he's going to see out his rest of his term.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
by the
That
way, sorry, I beg your pardon, the by-election on February. He's not going to, the local elections, they'll get trounced. But yeah, they might win the by-election in February. That's where we are.
Okay. Well, that's a bit of whiplash because over the past week, all I kept seeing was, calls for Starmer to resign, Starmer on his way out, and so now it seems like things have sort of settled down a little bit,
Yeah, yeah.
which is very interesting. So I guess one thing that he has in common with Trump is not facing any consequences for the Epstein business. So
So far,
they have that in
so
common.
far. Well, it's
So
interesting, in
far.
fact, because Starmer's mentioned in the Epstein files 26 times. Nigel Farage is mentioned in the Epstein files 37 times. So,
Yeah.
and I know being mentioned isn't, is no kind of proof of absolutely anything. But I heard, speaking of which, I heard that a certain orange-faced loon was mentioned. Some Democrats said it was over 1 million times or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how many times, but people do seem to be asking questions about what he knew and when he knew it, because one of the documents that came out was an interview with him that the police did. And one of the things that he said in that interview was, thank God you're going after him. Everybody knows that he's been doing this. And it's like, then why didn't you do
Yeah,
anything about
yeah.
it? Mr., drain the swamp, Mr., QAnon hero that's going to shut down all the pedophiles. Like, seems like you knew what was going on and you did nothing and you knew, uh, you know, his claim has always been, I didn't know what was going on. I wasn't a part of it. And I stopped talking to the guy a long time ago. But it seems like all of those things, maybe not so true.
Hmm. And I don't know what it's like in the States, but I'm pretty sure it's the same as over here. There's no time limit on this sort of thing. You're like, oh, that was back sort of 10 years ago. Come on, guys, let's move on. Yeah, I stabbed a guy, but that was like 20 years ago. Come on, we still talking about this? Um, yeah, it's not really a get out of jail free card, is it?
No, and, as JD Vance would tell you about, couch fuckergate, once something gets kind of attached to you, it does sort of, stick to you for a long time, in terms of rumors. So, yeah, the the stuff that is coming out very slowly, or it's coming out in, like, giant floods. So it's like, "Here, 3,000,000 pages. Figure it out. Bye."
Wow.
And then
Wow.
there's been a lot of redactions. And so now we have Congress going and taking a look at the unredacted versions to be like, okay, here are some things that we need to, uh, get out there that were mistakenly redacted. So it's been it's been interesting. I have a feeling we're going to be talking about this for a long time because just the sheer volume of documentation that's coming out. And it seems like every day there's some new person being, named in the files, and it sounds like that's even happening over there too. And it's, as soon as someone is named in the files, and they're like, "Oh, this person's in the files," and then everybody's like, and it's like, well, just because you know they were together in a room at a party one time, because
Yeah,
rich
yeah.
people tend to end up in the same places. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if any new revelations come out with any sort of consequences for anybody. So far, it doesn't seem like that's happening.
Yeah, plenty of people losing their jobs. It'd be nice if somebody lost their freedom over it.
Yes, that would be excellent. We could start jailing people. So, the latest big name was Howard Lutnick, our Commerce Secretary.
Mm,
Apparently had dinner with Epstein like a long time after his first arrest, after, word had gotten out about him.
yeah.
And he was like, I can't remember why we did that. And it was like, you had like a personal dinner, like with your wife, and like, it wasn't like a we were all at the same party kind of a thing. It was like you you guys were, having a conversation. Probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you what's confused me about this is the fact that obviously, besides being the world's most notorious sex trafficker and sort of paedophile, Epstein was a connector, wasn't he? He was essentially a
Yes.
sort of person that put people in contact with each other. So if everybody knew this about him, you'd like to think that the right sort of people would go, no, we're not getting involved with this guy. Honestly, bad news, bad news. But, you get to that level of power, maybe that's how people approach things, I don't know. But what's interesting is he's obviously kept a paper trail, and
Yes.
the idea being, "Look, we're all in this together, right? We understand this, we're all in this together." What's confused me is, and again, I'll come back to this, what's me I think has made it rather interesting, is this paper trail, I'm not sure where they found it because it's gonna sound bad, but if I was Jeffrey Epstein and
Mhm.
I had that, you know what I mean? If I had that, I would have paper trails be ready to be released because I would be sitting there thinking, these are some powerful people. They don't want this to come out about them. I'm gonna have my neck on the block here. And of course, he committed suicide in a prison.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Here we go. So anyway, if he hadn't committed suicide in a prison, who knows who could have got to him in a prison, say, for instance, in his own cell. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting to think about all the people that he had the power to take down and didn't for some reason, but maybe he was waiting to kind of call in that favor somehow.
Mm.
But seems like if you're in prison, you would want to call that in.
Yeah. At least, I don't know, get a comfy mattress or something.
Yes, yes, exactly. All right, so another thing that I wanted to talk about that just happened late last night, early this morning. Um, it's something rather odd. So we may or may not be invading Mexico. I don't know. But here's what happened. Last night, the FAA, Federal Aviation, they closed the airspace around El Paso, so effectively shutting down the El Paso airport.
Sorry, I beg your pardon. For the non-American viewers like myself, where is the
Yes.
El Paso airport?
So if you look at the state of Texas, El Paso is all the way over on the western tip, and it's on the border of Texas and Mexico. And so,
Okay.
for those not acquainted with Texas geography, I live in Austin, which is considered to be central Texas, although it's a bit east of the exact center of Texas. And if I drove to El Paso from here, it would take me 8.5 hours. And that's on mostly open roads through some of the most boring terrain you can possibly imagine.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that's how big Texas is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's weird about this is obviously anytime you close, airspace around an entire city, it's like, uh, what? Why?
Yeah.
What? And they said they were closing it for 10 days. And it was like, okay, so on the spur of the moment, with no explanation except for it's for security reasons, we're going to close down the airspace around an entire city. And this was, I mean, not even medevac helicopters, could be going in and out. So if you're, if you were in the hospital waiting on that new liver to be flown in, like, well, hold the presses. So that's a really strange thing to do.
Yeah.
And
What
everybody was
was
like, "Wait a minute."
yeah. What was the reason that they gave for, doing this?
Last I saw, they just said it was for security reasons. There is activity going on at a military base nearby, and they said they couldn't guarantee. the safety of anybody else, any civilians flying in that airspace,
Right.
which
So,
is
is
very
El
weird.
Paso, is it a busy I mean, I take it it's a civilian airport, commercial airport, it's not a military one?
Yes, but I do believe there is an army base located nearby. But
Oh,
yes, El
right,
Paso
right.
Airport, civilian airport. So then, after a few hours of everybody going, "Wait, what? You're closing the airspace for
Yeah.
10 days?"
Yes.
A few hours later, they said, "Never mind, we've reopened the airspace. Everything's fine." Wait, what?
You
None
know what
of
I'm
this
gonna
is making
say?
sense.
You know what I'm gonna say, don't you?
What's that?
Area 51. Aliens. Guaranteed you, aliens.
I hope it's aliens. I would love for it to be aliens. El Paso, it did close down part of the New Mexican airspace as well, and Roswell is in New Mexico, although I'm not exactly sure what part of the state that's in. Yeah, maybe it was aliens. I hope it's aliens. I'm wishing for aliens because if it's not aliens, are we about to invade Mexico? Because I really don't think we should do that.
No, that would be a bad idea, yeah. Have you been invading any country which you unless that country is invading you, which you go back and invade them? I'm attempting to do some sort of historical connection here, maybe, I don't know, you're in Texas, but who knows, who knows? Wow, wow.
Yes, it's a
Is,
very odd thing.
has Trump commented on it at all?
Not as far as I've seen, but again, while you're,
Mm,
keeping one tab open for looking at the news, I'm keeping one tab open for looking at what's going on here. So far, I haven't seen any updates suggesting that he's made a comment on it. I don't know that he would.
yeah.
If he did, there's no telling what would come out of his mouth. But I'm I'm a little bit worried that he's about to carry out military strikes in Mexico on suspected drug labs. Uh, that would be, problematic because Mexico is our largest trading partner, and
Mm,
they have not, as far as I know, asked us to do that. And as far as I
yeah,
know, would probably be pretty pissed off about it. So,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a declaration of war, really, isn't it? That's the only way you can, yeah.
I'm wondering if, after what happened in Venezuela, he's like, "Oh, it's really easy to just march into countries and, take over." So, as far as I know, Mexico is not sitting on top of a very large oil deposit. So that may be good news for them. Pro tip, if you are not wanting to engage with the United States government, I do recommend not having a large petroleum deposit under your feet. That will make things go a lot better for you.
What about sea? What about, how do you say, if there's some oil in, like, a North Sea somewhere?
So there actually is a lot of oil drilling in the Gulf of Mexico, which is the lower coast of Texas, so kind of the opposite end from where El Paso is. There is a lot of offshore oil drilling there already.
Right.
So yeah, I guess that's a possibility if they want to get a
Yike.
piece of,
Okay.
uh,
So we need to
yeah,
we need to dig up all our North Sea oil straight away, put it in barrels, sell it to whoever wants it, and then go, "We got nothing. We got nothing, Mr. President." Yeah.
that
Okay.
would be best. Yes, long term, just get that oil off of your hands. It's not going to help you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. There we go. All right. I'll take sticky hands. So,
Yes.
any other news from America?
Speaking about this, one other possibility is there's about to be some sort of ICE operation. There's been lots of those happening in the US. Um, Interesting thing that I read was that less than 14% of those arrested by ICE in Trump's first year back in office have had violent criminal records. So he's justified all of this action by saying we are getting rid of the criminals and the murderers and the rapists, and we're sending them back where they came from. But according to internal Department of Homeland Security documents, that is not the case. It is a fraction. So, hey, if that was who we were getting rid of, I think everybody would be like, go for it. But a lot of American citizens are being snatched up, and when they get snatched up, they don't stay in a place nearby. For some reason, they ship them across the country or to other countries, and then if they say, "Oh, you know what? We made a mistake. Sorry," they let them out, and then it's like they have to figure out how to get back home from there.
Oh, wow.
So that's not good. One thing I think that people have not thought about is, the people who are in favor of this are like, yeah, let's get rid of those criminals and rapists and send them back where they came from. It's like, okay, but they've proven that they know how to get across the border. If we kept them here, put them through the correct legal process, found them guilty, and locked them up in jail, we would know where they were. We could keep an eye on them. We could keep them
Huh.
from doing those things again. However,
Hmm.
if we just ship them off to God knows where, what's to stop them from just coming back and starting all over again? So the plan just doesn't make sense. It makes a lot more sense to go through the proper channels, arrest them, try them, and put them in jail here where we can keep an eye on them.
Yes, good point. I don't know if you spotted the Grammys where Billie Eilish got up and spoke about nobody is illegal on stolen land. Did you see that?
I
And
did,
of course, she got
yes.
she got absolutely hammered by the right wing press, who, freedom of speech, etc. When you got something to say, including
Right.
GB News. There was a chap called Ben Leo from GB News who went to her address. I don't know if it was her address. He's like, look, she's got a big old house. She's got. I thought she didn't believe in borders. She's got walls and everything. And it's like she's had trouble with stalkers before. I didn't realize that. I couldn't name a single Billie Eilish record, but I know she's very popular. um, but you're sitting there going, you've either deliberately or through sheer stupidity have misunderstood her entire point. She said no one's illegal. That's the important part of this point. No one's illegal on stolen land. She's not saying everybody give your land back. What she's saying is, if you decided to take the land, fine, but don't turn around to other people going, "What are you doing here? You shouldn't be doing, shouldn't be here." It's
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you can't colonize us. That's white people's thing. Come on now.
That's just bad, bad, yes.
That's our whole
And
deal.
her brothers come out and defended her, saying it's just rich old white men having a go at her. And I'm sitting there going, come on, it's orange ones too, you know. Um,
Fair point. Fair point. Do we have any lighter news that we can discuss? Something that is slightly less depressing than than all of that.
well, shall we go on a scale? Because I think we've gone, slightly lighter with Billie Eilish, going slightly even lighter with the Super Bowl halftime show,
Yes, let's talk about that.
which seems to be making it, which for all the bizarrest reasons seems to be making the news over here. Not the news per se, but some of the yeah. Basically, this chap did this halftime show in Spanish, right? And again, people are kicking off. They didn't understand it, that sort of thing. Now, I don't think I've ever seen the Super Bowl, so I may have got this completely wrong. But I thought the whole point of the halftime was so that you could go off and, stuff your face with whatever's lying around in the way of beef, turkey, and sort of various fried this and salted that, and, chocolate this, and just basically help yourself to all the kind of a fizzy bucket, that sort of thing, and help yourself to absolutely everything so you can come back for the second half. Otherwise, you might waste away. Isn't that the thinking behind it?
Yes, by the end of the first half of the Super Bowl, you're feeling dangerously lean.
Yeah.
And you're wasting away, and you've got to get in there and stock up. No, actually, there's two ways to watch the Super Bowl. That is one way,
Okay.
which is the way where you care about sports and you care about which team wins. Possibly you have money on the Super Bowl, and so you pay attention to that. The way that I watched the Super Bowl is, I go to a Super Bowl party, I talk to people the whole entire first half, I pay no attention to the television whatsoever, except to occasionally glance in that direction. Then, as soon as they call halftime, I stop speaking to people, I park myself in front of the TV. I watch the halftime show, and the second it's over, it's back to talking to people and eating all of that delicious food. So there's two ways to go about it, and a lot of people uh, like my way. And so the Super Bowl really for some people is all about the halftime show if you don't give a shit about sports at all.
Did you enjoy the halftime show then?
I did. I've seen a lot of halftime shows because again, that's the only bit that I care about. And they're always a spectacle. They are always, big. Like I remember there's some people like have come down from the roof, to land on the stage and start doing stuff. Like it's phenomenal. But this one it just was so different. Like the set that they had put together was just so elaborate. There were so many people. The story that was told, I really enjoyed it. Even though I only understood, bits and pieces of the music. But you know what? It's good music. You don't need to understand it to like it. And also, how entitled is it to expect everyone in the world, including from Spanish speaking places, to always speak English for you? What if the
Yeah,
world wasn't built for just you, you know?
yeah. Good point. Good point. I would say as well that um, I don't know how popular the Super Bowl is around the world. I've no doubt it's watched by a lot of non-Americans. It does not annoy me. That's the wrong way of putting it. I found myself scratching my head when they talk about being champions of the world. You realize you're the only country that plays it, right? I mean, fair play to you, but it's just like, yeah. But to be fair, I suppose a lot of us do it. We do it over here with snooker and darts and things like that. So yeah, champion of the world. You're like, yeah, I don't think anybody else is really ready to kind of run with that. Um, by the way, Andrea's talking about the fact that she doesn't care about the Super Bowl. Oh, let's just be clear. We're both really massive American football fans. I just want to put it out there that well done to the Seattle Sledgehammers for getting the
Yes,
winning puck against the Boston Bootlickers.
they did a magnificent job, and I'm very proud of them.
Fantastic.
Great work,
Great job.
team. Yeah.
Have you been watching the Olympics, the Winter Olympics, of course?
Yes, been watching the Winter Olympics. So I have some thoughts on best sports. Best sports, anything that involves going down quickly on snow or ice. This includes skiing, luge, snowboarding, anything that requires you to go downhill at a rapid speed on a frozen surface. I like that. Last night I was watching cross country skiing with my kids and my son was like, "What in the world is this?" Because, they're kind of like there's a
Yeah,
little bit
yeah,
of skiing, there's a lot of poles, and then there's some trudging. And then there's some kind of running with these like giant knives strapped to your feet, and it looks absolutely ridiculous. That sport, not a good sport. If they want to improve that sport, they're going to need some elevation change, I think.
yeah. Okay. Or dogs. They need to chased by, Alaskan sort of dogs or what do they call them?
I
Siberian
would love that.
Huskies, that sort of thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
I haven't been watching the Winter Olympics. I'm ashamed to say. I'm sitting there. I'm one of these people where I'll end up watching it at 3 in the morning over here, whatever it
Uh-huh.
is, and you'll see some sport. You'll have no idea how it's played. All of a sudden, you'll become an expert. You'll watch it for
Right.
about 5 minutes. Hear the commentator going, "Really should be lifting their legs a bit more." There, you go. Yes, yes, definitely should be lifting their legs. Yes, yeah. And I
Yes.
spotted that myself. I have noticed. I have noticed that a lot of the medals keep breaking.
Yes. Yes.
That's yeah.
Not sure who's making those, but I would advise them to maybe not do chocolate in the middle next time.
Yeah.
Maybe we do a medal inside the medal just to kind of
Yeah.
sturdy it up. Yeah.
I must admit, I'm kind of disappointed. I understand why they haven't done it. I am disappointed that they aren't silver and gold. They would be
Wait, they're
worth a
not?
lot, but yeah. Yeah, they're kind of aren't they just coated or that's how they're
Yeah, I
breaking?
mean, they've probably used up all of the minerals to build like AI tech centers or computer chips or something like that. So they're having to get by with, whatever they can
Yeah.
scrap together. So
Some silver paint on some clay. Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah. As long as it
Yes,
looks all right. Yeah.
I think they went to a junkyard and found a 1979 Chevy Vega and just disassembled the thing and, got the blowtorch out and went to work.
So that was our lighter news, everybody. So you can see we're getting lighter and lighter. I don't know
That's
that
right.
this is lighter, but this is, oh God. Okay. Guess we probably should have slotted this one in earlier, but we've been having a lot of rain over here in the UK. Now, I know what you're
Oh,
thinking, which is, yeah, wait, that's news? No, we've been having a lot of rain in the UK. In fact, somewhere in Britain, since the start of the year, it's been raining somewhere. That's how bad it is.
wow.
40, I saw like 46 days on the bounce. Yeah. So,
We
for
do
all
not
those
know what
people,
that's like.
no doubt if it happens in Texas, you go running out and just look to the skies, don't you? I mean, it's like some sort of Shawshank Redemption. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we just got like a tiny bit of rain last night for the first time in weeks, and it was like, oh my God, it rained! Oh my God, it rained! So, if you'd like any surplus rain that you're not using, just send it on over here because we'd love to have it.
Thinking we could do something with guttering, I mean, how far can
Yes,
guttering stretch?
that sounds great. Yes, just we'll build a transatlantic guttering system, just straight off the eaves over there, and it'll come straight here. And yeah, what
All right.
science, figure it out.
I'll speak to some people to speak. Obviously, we'll need to start it at this end because it's got to be high,
Yes, right.
probably several thousand feet up or something. I'm not entirely sure how you collect the rain from everywhere in the UK. As you say, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. And good news, if it freezes over, then somebody can just luge down it and we'll get some cameras up and it'll be great to watch.
There we go. There we go. I can't promise that people won't be using it to get to the World Cup during the summer, but yeah, there we go. Excellent. Any other news, Andrea?
God, I hope not.
Oh, and we did say we finished on lighter news. So we've got the Gorton and Denton by-election coming up on February 26th. By the time that we do this, we're doing this on a monthly basis now, everybody. By the time we come
Yes.
back and do this, we will know the results of that. And as I say, whether if Labour loses, I still think Starmer's going to stay, but everybody's expecting Labour to lose. So if he wins, it's almost like an extra positive sort of thing. So we'll see, but we'll know by that
All
point.
right.
If you're all out of
We'll
news,
keep an
I'm
eye
all
out for
out of
that.
news. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us here today. If you want to catch up on Andrea's channel, you're already here at Phoenix News Network. You want to see mine? There's a new one coming out on Sunday. I've been a bit quiet for the last few weeks, but you'll see why. At theinterestingtimes.co.uk, and we'll see you all soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.